Glad you could join us. Now, U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Robert Jackson, has broken his silence over the controversial military cooperation agreement between Ghana and the United States of America. Mr. Jackson defended the agreement, insisting that $20 million as benefits under the said agreement is enough for Ghana. A document cited by Joy News and currently before Parliament for consideration and approval reveals that Cabinet had approved the deal, which allows the U.S. to have unrestricted access into a host of Ghana's security facilities. But in an exclusive interview with the U.S. Ambassador, that is Robert Jackson, he indicated the agreement is not to allow any invasion by the U.S.
I think $20 million being invested in the Ghanaian armed forces in 1 year is a pretty significant return.
$20 million for unrestricted access to the country?
No, it's not unrestricted access. It's only access to the bases that Ghana makes available to the United States for the exercises.
But you get to choose those bases, don't you?
The government of Ghana gets to choose those bases. Okay. And just as if you were inviting me into your home and you said, that's your bedroom, wouldn't you want somebody to knock before you came in? Well, that's my point. It's as simple as that. When we have people here, we want to ensure that we're cooperating, that we're working well together, but there's also a right to privacy.
But then you can bring everything into this country, take everything out of this country without anybody checking.
No, we can't. What we bring into the country is mostly left here, except for basic personal equipment, which people travel with all the time. And what we take out of the country, the Ghanaian government will know what was brought in, what is going out. It's manifested. It comes in as diplomatic cargo. There's no secret about it. And if there's any secrecy involved, it's because the material is something that the Ghanaian government believes should be restricted for public goods so that our enemies will not know what the capabilities are.
My final question, sir. If you were Ghanaian, we've seen the document. If you were Ghanaian, would you think that this is a fair deal?
I have always thought it's a fair deal, and I think that when people see how it's being executed, they too will think it's a fair deal. In fact, I really sincerely believe that a payment of $20 million, an investment in Ghana's police and armed forces, is well worth public scrutiny on the one hand, and when people see the actual execution, they'll say that was a good investment.
This award, I wasn't here when you answered it. These awards, what do they mean? First of all, what's your own assessment of women's rights and people living with disability in this country?
Let's delve deeper into this issue, and we've been joined on the phone lines by Adams Bonner. He is a security analyst and he's the CEO of Security Warehouse. Thank you, Mr. Bonner, for joining us.
Yes, good afternoon and good afternoon.
We just heard the U.S. ambassador who describes the $20 million investments that is going to be made in the country by the U.S. As part of this security or military arrangement as a very adequate one. In fact, he says it's enough. He believes it's enough to cover for the access they are getting to our facilities. Do you agree?
No, I don't agree, no. I don't agree because the $20 million, is it for 1 year, is it for 2 years, or is for the entire duration of the facility? And so 20 million, if you know how much a landed property is sold or rented within the airport enclave, then you would know 20 million isn't that much. And so I believe that we can negotiate for more. I mean, in any case, they give Egypt, budgetary support for sometimes $1 billion yearly. And so if they so want us to have this arrangement with them, I see nothing wrong with them upping their game and increasing the amount, and probably we can interrogate this further. But 20 million, I think if you look at even our budgetary allocation to the Ministry of Defense, and so I don't think that is even adequate enough to fund just the naval part of the Ghana Army. And so, no, 20 million, I would say no, it is not adequate, no. I wouldn't say it is, no.
How then would you describe the current arrangements that exists between Ghana and the United States?
Well, I think the current arrangement, there is, if you look at it, I mean, internationally, terrorism has taken its own international dimension. And so one would say, in terms of training and support and all that, we are mutually going to benefit from each other, intelligence gathering and all that. But if you go into the arrangement, you realize there are a lot of immunity clauses here and there, and one would have wished that some of these clauses, as it's been laid, been sent to Parliament, would be looked at, so that after parliamentarians will look at it. Yes.
Right, and that's what is happening now. But what of the current arrangement where $20 million is coming into the system and so much access is being given? As you say, there are some immunities in there, there's some access to some facilities in there. What would you comment about that specific arrangement?
Well, I think the 20 million is woefully, I mean, it's inadequate. 20 million. I mean, come on. I mean, let's be realistic. Ghana is worth more than 20 million, and so I would say if they want this arrangement, we do also believe we'll benefit. But putting in 20 million, is it for a year? They did state, and so I would be looking at probably why can't they do $500 million? If they can do $500 million. Probably that would go to retool the entire Ghana army. I mean, it can do that. Cannot even retool the entire Ghana army.
$500 million, Mr. Bonner, $500 million and 20 million is a long way off. To say it simply, would you say there was poor negotiation that led us to this point?
I'm saying that because in negotiation, you go into the negotiations with parties and hoping that you can negotiate hard to get enough, and the other party also comes in trying to negotiate hard, not to give too much. And so you believe that I would want to believe that Ghana went into negotiations with the U.S. Definitely, the U.S. will be looking at a situation where they would have to negotiate hard to give us something very small, comparing to what they've given to other countries. But of course, from 1992 to date, Ghana has been very stable. And so I believe the U.S. wouldn't want to be comparing us to the other neighboring African countries, West African countries. We are quite stable. And so if they are coming in and they really, they think this support is necessary, I would want them, 20 million for me is a no-no.
So say, in clarity, to make it clear, you believe the negotiation that Ghana did was poor?
Probably yes. I probably yes. If you ask me, I would say the negotiations, we could have negotiated harder.
Right.
We should have made them aware that from 1992 to date, we haven't had any civil unrest, and therefore we are better than 20 million. I have to be honest with you. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adam Bonner, for joining us.
You are welcome.
Let's move away from issues having to do with security and talk about sanitation, because the historical Cape Coast Castle harbors traumatic stories of the transatlantic slave trade. The site has gained worldwide recognition, but behind the castle is an open defecation ground. Tourists who throng the castle are appalled and have vowed never to go swimming in Ghana's ocean. Jojo Kobna has more in the following report.
Welcome to the Cape Coast Castle. It was built in 1653 by the Swedes. The historical monument harbors horrific tales of the transatlantic slave trade. The castle has been marked as a World Heritage Site and receives thousands of tourists yearly. Many African Americans make emotional journeys here to retrace their ancestry.
We're survivors. Yes. Survivor spirit.
President Barack Obama has visited this place.
Right above the dungeons in which male captives were kept was a church. And that reminds us that sometimes we can tolerate and stand by great evil even as we think that we're doing good.
Last year, a little over 60,000 tourists visited the castle and were probably greeted with this. It is It's unpleasant watching people hunker down, easing themselves. Many residents around the Cape Coast Castle do it without any shame. They confront us on why we're filming them and then try to hide from our camera to do their own thing. Many brave the strong tides just to ease themselves when a public toilet is just 150 meters away. It's shocking to note that many of the patrons of this place do not use toilet rolls. Children join in and later play where they defecated. Tourists who throng the place are shocked. Some vowed never to even walk in Ghana's beach waters again.
It's concerning. I had heard about it before coming to Ghana, actually, that it is a problem on public beaches and public places. I think that kind of a behavior is unacceptable, and it's really off-putting. I wouldn't go swimming or bathing on the beach.
The government have to be more active, have to promote, have to incentive the people to take care of the nature, take care of the monuments they have.
I really like swimming, I really like the beach, and I just never go to the beach here. And Ghana has so many beaches, so many beautiful beaches, so many good places, and just too dirty to swim.
The assistant director of the Cape Coast Castle, Alex Kinsley Okwe, said when tourists inquire about open defecation around the castle, he becomes speechless.
In fact, it's difficult to tell them why they are defecating there, because it's embarrassment, shameful, disgraceful, distasteful, and therefore, we just try to tell them that we have tried our efforts to move them away, but they will not yield. Diplomats, people of high caliber, take them around, then you go to Mesa's situation. You, the person taking the visitors round, find it difficult even to continue the tour.
I engaged the fishermen around the castle, and they did not deny defecating at the beach. Rather, they have interesting tales on why they do so.
Once and can be our engine. Now, according to me, I'm fresh air. Let me
The fishermen admit they are recalcitrant.
My says,
so what would it take for them to change? Meanwhile, caretakers at the public toilet facility close to the Cape Coast Castle say only women along the coast use the facility. Ghana ranks second on the Open Defecation League table, with 19% of its population resorting to sanitation practice deemed the riskiest of all. Certainly, government must do more to end such practices to save the health of its citizens and also promote tourism. Jojo Kobna, Cape Coast, Joy News.
Speechless, utterly speechless. Now, we'll stay with the issue of sanitation because today is World Water Day. The theme for World Water Day 2018 is Nature for Water, exploring nature-based solutions to the water challenges we face in the 21st century. Now, imagine being surrounded by water and yet struggling to get potable water. That's the story of Aflive, an island community on the Volta River. News editor Martha Krentelakwa takes a trip to the island near the estuary and reports that even without potable water, residents can only fetch water from the river every fortnight because the sea sometimes spills its content into the river.
We've been on the Volta River for almost 15 minutes on our way to Afleve, the island community that doesn't have potable water, even though it is surrounded by water. Now we are going to check how they have been able to manage so far, how the water they have has transformed their lives, even though their fishing activities and other livelihoods have been affected by what they used to do. From Adafo to Sugakope, there are many island communities dotted along the Volta River. These communities are surrounded by water, yet, fact is, they consume that water at their own risk. Much of the water is contaminated through fishing, salt mining, and other human activities. It makes a lot of sense to think surrounded by water means you lack none. But some women in Afleve tell me the cost they paid when they used to drink from the Volta River was high.
Those days, our children, when they go to school, the teachers call us, the children are having acute stomach pain or chronic stomach pain, or they are vomiting up and down. Every day there are problems in the school with the school children. Since this device was installed, such calls has not come again. Teachers don't call us to tell us our children are in pain or they are sick at school anymore. And we, the parents as well, we don't buy pure water like we used to buy those days.
Another issue affecting treatment and distribution of potable water is the tide. According to the residents of Afleve, because they live close to the estuary, the seawater usually mixes up with the river water, thereby making the river water salty. Assembly member for Afleve Azakpa Alokbem electoral area explains they have now studied the pattern and noticed the tides increase the salt content of the river every 2 weeks.
It's tasty.
So
it's salty, yeah.
The salt in it comes all the way.
Yes, the salt in it, whenever it's high time, the salt on it. Yeah, so you can taste it, put it into your mouth, you can see. And also you can, when you see the surface of the river, you see the river tend to be some colors. When it's coming, you see there's some colors. The water has mixed with the salt sea. So you can see it by seeing it on the river and also tasting it when you put it into our mouth.
I visited the Adan East District Hospital to speak with the medical superintendent, Dr. Philip Na, on the water situation on the island towns.
Normally, we have what we call waterborne diseases that we get all the diarrheas, cholera, diarrhea, dysentery, and all those typhoid. We also have what we call bilharzia. When people, that one is peculiar in this area. So people go to the water to feed, people go and fish and all those in the have. So those were the health conditions that we've been getting. Now that we have these machines, we are doing a study. We haven't concluded it yet, but we are seeing that it is happening. But we want to complete the full study and prove to the world the impact that before it was like this, now it is like this.
The treated water has been certified as bacteria-free by 4 government agencies responsible for the sector.
So watching Joy News today, the news continues. Thanks for staying with us. Now, the Dambai Health Center in the Karachi East municipality of the Volta region is unable to deliver quality healthcare because it lacks basic medical equipment. Officials at the facility are compelled to improvise by adopting the boiling method to sterilize medical instruments, among other things. Fred Kwame Asari has more in the following report.
The Karachi East municipality has no hospital. Hence, residents rely on under-equipped clinics and health centers dotted across the municipality. The Dambai Health Center, which is the biggest health facility, is not spared the pressure. Though it operates a maternal health, family planning, and mental health units, as well as provides laboratory services, it is understaffed and lacks the requisite logistics. The facility has 15 beds in a combined ward, used for both accident victims and inpatients, while the maternal unit has only 3 beds, where on the average 3 babies are delivered daily. The medical laboratory lacks basic equipment, compelling technicians to improvise. Medical laboratory scientist Francis Duche laments they rely on boiling to sterilize, while they use hand dryer to dry samples for quick observation.
We don't have this machine. We have to boil it. And the boiling, to be honest, we don't do it regularly. So we ourselves, the workers here, are exposing ourselves to a lot of risks. And the clients as well. And that's a major challenge.
The only ambulance available at the facility had broken down for over 5 years. Patients in dire situations rely on commercial vehicles or motorbikes when referred to other facilities. There is neither a blood bank nor a theater to serve such purposes. The acting medical superintendent, Dr. Abigail Amenu, says patients' attendance has outgrown the size of the facility, calling for an expansion.
So a lot of the cases that we attend to, majority of them are maternity problems. We have emergencies where a patient is in dire need of blood transfusion to save a life. We do not have a blood bank. We have to transfer them all the way to Rara. I think we have these basic facilities available. Since I came here, I'll say the number of patients who come around have increased. And as a result of that, we don't have enough beds. We don't have enough infrastructure. We don't have enough health personnel to be able to cope with this growing number.
Volta Regional Minister, Dr. Archibald Lecha, who recently toured the facility, assured of immediate measures to mitigate the situation.
We need to get a theater for them. We need to work on the maternity where they have only 3 beds for prenatal, people in labor and people after delivery. Women after delivery, they only have 3 beds. And so those in labor and those who have delivered all are kept in the same room, which is not good enough.
Meanwhile, residents are optimistic the elevation of Kwachi East to a municipality would bring some rapid development. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Dambai.
Now, last week we told you how the Ghana Meteorological Agency can benefit from a satellite station at the Earth Observation Research and Innovation Center, EORIC, of the University of Energy and Natural Resources in Sunyani. Today, let's introduce you to another benefit of that system, detecting fires. Gifty Anoapia has the details in this report.
Imagine the Ghana National Fire Service moving in swiftly to douse domestic fires, not because they were called on the phone, but because they have an infrastructure linked to a satellite station that can track fire outbreaks precisely. Well, that satellite station is ready to be used, but the service appears not.
Anybody at all can tell that there's a fire here.
Nanako Nkwase is a satellite engineer with the Earth Observation Research and Innovation Center here at the University of Energy and Natural Resources, where the satellite station is located. The satellite dishes here cover vast parts of Southern and West Africa. 2 of them track information from about 8 satellites, including those belonging to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA.
So we track from NASA Terra, NASA Aqua, Swami MPP, and then Chinese satellites called the Fangai 3B.
They have developed an analytics system which interprets the information received from the satellites. It is called the Advanced Fire Information System. With this, they know when there is fire and the exact location.
It's an information system that helps to detect, monitor, and then predicts, and then also assess the range of wildfires globally. We thought it wise that we should also factor in information about the weather, the wind direction, and then also information about what we call the fire danger indices. That will determine how wide the fire will spread if there's a fire. Now, with the information that is on the Advanced Fire Information System, anybody at all can tell that there's a fire here or what the risk is.
For now, they are tracking bushfires, but the engineers say there is a clear possibility to track domestic fires.
That is why we've integrated into the system that if you have cameras or those sensors in those areas that are of high importance or people would want to actually monitor. You could integrate that into the system, and then it will give you live notification of if it detects a fire through text messages, or you could check it on the app on your phone.
It only requires funding, resources the fire service says it does not have.
What we need to be able to pick the data from them. When the satellite picks it, they have to transmit it to us so that we can use it. And that is the infrastructure that we have to put in place. That we'll need a little bit of funds to be able to get all those things done. And that is why this thing is taking a bit of time.
In November 2017 and the early parts of 2018, news portals were awash with announcements that the service was collaborating with the University of Energy and Natural Resources to fight fire efficiently. Those are sounds of burning vegetation I met on my way to cover the story. Vast tracts of farms are being destroyed. If only the fire service can invest in the university's advanced fire information system.
When it comes to funds for such activities, the service itself does not have the funds. It is government that provides funds for these things.
Last week, I told you about the mobile app being developed at the university to deliver precise weather information. The same app will include a fire alert system.
It also has notifications. So you can specify, for instance, if you have a farm, you know where it is located. So you can specify for this location and make it a location that's, if there's a fire around that area, for instance, maybe a 100-kilometer radius around that area, you should get a notification, either by text or mail, so that you can either decide to go there and then check or put out the fire or call the Ghana National Fire Service.
The university tells me the app should be ready in September this year. About 3,000 people are being trained in the areas of renewable energy, natural resource management, and of course, modern technologies. But what's the point in investing in such training if you don't nurture and use the expertise of the people to solve national problems? Kifti Andwapia, Joy News, Sunyang in the Bono-Ahafo region.
Now, the United States Embassy has presented 2 Ghanaians with the annual Martin Luther King Jr. Award for Peace and Social Justice. Dr. Rose Mensah Kutin, a women rights advocate, and Mr. Yao Ofori Deborah, a lifelong leader in the fight for the rights of persons with disabilities, were honored for their efforts in fighting for the rights of women and people with disabilities. Speaking on the sidelines of the event, Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Otiko Afisa-Jaba, commended the effort by the embassy.
This award to a woman and a person with disability means that we are moving to the next level of acceptance to reduce marginalization, discrimination, elimination, and to have a fully inclusive and productive society that in spite of being a woman, in spite of being disabled, you can be part of development.
A member of Parliament for Clote Colley, Dr. Zanetta Rawlings, also used the opportunity to encourage more women to get into politics.
What's positive about it is that it's bringing this issue more mainstream as opposed to something that's reserved for Women's Day. You know, because this is an ongoing fight. It's an ongoing problem. The challenges that face women are real. This is good. It's an acknowledgement of the fact that what we're doing has not gone unrecognized. And I think that will serve as encouragement for more women to enter mainstream politics, to, you know, break through the glass ceiling and move ahead and make the way for more other women to come along.
And that's it for today's bulletin of Joy News today. My name is Daniel Daze. Thanks for joining us. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com.